Well, the government has been accused of running its inquiry into the grooming gang scandal in a style of chaos, as several victims and survivors have quit a panel engaging with the government. 4 survivors have quit so far, and Jessica from Yorkshire quit last night, telling GB News about her decision to do so. And Jessica joins me now. Thank you very much for speaking to GB News. Jessica, can you tell us why you decided to quit the panel?
Firstly, I decided to quit the panel because I felt like they were picking and choosing which victims and survivors could be in the meeting. We got an email saying it would be the first people who responded to the email that would make it onto the meeting. I was not one of them people that made it onto the meeting. I feel like all victims and survivors should have had the chance to meet these 2 potential chairs, not just individually picked ones. I also decided to leave when I found out that the 2 potential chairs were both had links to authorities that failed us for decades. I don't understand how they could run this inquiry correctly.
And Jess, that's a former police officer and a former social worker. Some survivors have said that they want a judge to lead the inquiry, but Jess Phillips said that all institutions had failed victims and that you guys were often criminalised and had your children taken away, for example. What do you make of that? Do you want a judge to lead this inquiry?
Yeah, I definitely think it should be a judge. I think it should be an independent person. A judge that, if it was out of country, who they follow the same criminal justice laws as what we do. I don't feel like anyone who has had any kind of involvement or connections to the involvement should be leading the inquiry.
Jess, talk us through why you're speaking out now, because you gave evidence to the police when you were 12 years old, decades ago, but it took over 20 years for them to actually process what you told them. Why did the state ignore your abuse for so long, and why are you speaking about it now?
I'm not sure why they ignored it for so long, because I had such solid evidence at 12 years old, and the police just said that they didn't have enough evidence to prosecute at that time. Yet that same interview was then used in my court case 20 years later. I think now all the survivors that are choosing to speak out, I feel like we need to stand together. We need to make sure that this is done correctly this time. This is now 23 years later for me, and it still feels like the same mistakes are being hidden, trying to be covered up, and where us survivors are just trying to be silenced once again.
Now, you spoke about not being able to interview the 2 potential chairs. People who did get through to that interview, the survivors were asked to submit their own questions and were given guidance on what to ask. What do you make of that? Did it feel as though you guys were being manipulated or managed in how you should engage with this inquiry?
Yeah, for sure, it felt like we were being manipulated. Them questions that we wanted to ask should have been solely written and asked how we wanted them to ask. There should have been no guidance into what we should have been asking. I feel like that's just a way to lead the questions they want asking, rather than the questions we actually want to ask.
So, Jessica, you didn't get to speak to these chairs, and I'm sure that more people will be interviewed in the future. What do you want to ask them if you get the chance to speak to them again? What would you want to know about them and how they're going to look into the grooming gang scandal?
I'd want to know how they're going to lead the investigation. I'd want to know the areas that they are looking into for the investigation. It should definitely be survivor-based and survivor-led. We're the ones that suffered for all these years.
And there are concerns being shared by other survivors that this investigation, this inquiry, might be expanded beyond grooming gangs. What do you make of that? The government say it's absolutely not going to be the case. It's going to be focused. But survivors were asked on the panel, Should it look beyond grooming gangs? What do you make of these fears?
It definitely shouldn't look beyond grooming gangs. This has been going on for decades, not just years, but decades, and it's been covered up for decades. The grooming gang scandal is more than big enough to stand alone. I understand all CSE and CSA is going to have the same effect on a person for the rest of their life, but the patterns the grooming gangs use is completely different to other forms of CSA and CSE. I feel like they should also have their own inquiry because they also deserve that. But the grooming gang scandal is more than big enough to stand on its own.
And obviously, this investigation has never happened. Previous inquiries never looked into this. A lot of people say it's because of the ethnicity and the race of a lot of the rapists, that they come predominantly in some areas from British Pakistani communities. Do you think that's why the government are so nervous about this issue and why your questions had to be submitted in advance and why a lot of survivors have felt as though they've been silenced by this process? Do you think that is what's driving that concern, issues about ethnicity?
Yeah, 100%. I think when it actually comes out, the total number of the males, the ethnicity, it's overwhelming, and I feel like the government are scared to be called racist. I feel like they're scared to upset communities.
And Jessica, why might they be upset, sort of scared to upset communities? I mean, what was your experience? I appreciate you've never spoken out about this in the media before, and if you do want to share, we'd be very happy to hear at GB News your experiences so people can better understand what happened to you and why are you talking about it now?
I'm not sure why they're so scared to upset communities. I think only they know the answer to that. But, you know, it's out there that overwhelmingly this is Asian Pakistani males that are committing these crimes.
Why do you think they targeted you?
I think they targeted us because, I mean, I'm not sure if this is the right way to say it. I feel like maybe because white girls were forbidden or are forbidden in some communities within the Asian communities. I feel like they saw us as easy prey and they could just take us and take advantage and nothing was going to come back on them or their families because we were so young.
Yeah, so young. You were just 12 when you first gave evidence. It must have been terrifying for you as a child going through that process, not being believed for so long as well.
Yeah, for sure. And because of the fact that they didn't prosecute at that time, that then led to further grooming for another 5 years for me. Whereas I feel like if they would have taken it seriously at the time and prosecuted at the time, it may have not led into further grooming for me.
Yeah. And you've been supported by the law firm Switolski's in your efforts as well, in your journey through the justice system. They have supported so many other survivors right across the country with this problem and this crisis. And all too often, Jessica, speaking to other survivors and those being supported by Switolski's, we hear the same thing, that they're still not being believed. Is that a worry that you still have now as you've been engaging with this inquiry process?
Yeah, for sure. I still don't think we're believed 100%. I think people think we may share stories and try and put the same kind of thing out there. So, well, all our stories are very similar because that's what it was. They all are different also.
And Jessica, just finally, what is your message now to the Prime Minister, to the Home Secretary and to the Safeguarding Minister about the grooming gangs national inquiry? What's your message to them and how can they regain your trust after you've left the panel?
I think it's really time for them to step up now and really take full responsibility for the failings. This is a lifelong situation for me now. It's something that's never going to leave me. The government, the police, the social services, they made it a lot worse for a lot of us for many, many years. And it's time they really stepped up now and took responsibility and some accountability.
And if they do that, if they are clear that they're focusing on grooming gangs, that they're going to get involved with assessing the drivers behind ethnicity and religion, would you rejoin the panel, as Keir Starmer has suggested you'd be able to? Would you rejoin if you got back their trust and confidence?
I would be open into rejoining the panel, but it's definitely going to have to be done the right way with the right people. It's going to take a lot to get that trust back. We have such little trust anyway in these people. So to rejoin the panel, it's going to take a lot.
And just quickly, what will it take?
So I think definitely they need to relook at their potential chairs, number one. I think they need to allow all survivors to attend all meetings, not just pick and choose who they want in the meetings because of the time frame.
Yeah.
That's just not acceptable at all.
OK, well, Jessica, thank you so much for speaking to us on GB News today. Thank you for your time, and good luck as you continue to fight for this proper national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal.